sail the great seas, you must be born into affluence. And well, I was lucky enough to be born into affluence. So, after my father died, the affluence kind of went away. I don't quite remember, but my mother only got $20, and well, that was like $500 in your time. So I signed aboard a merchant ship, the St. Lawrence. It was 1839, I think, and I was just a green hand. I was a boy. We cruised from New York to Liverpool. Got sick quite a bit. Get used to the sea, I suppose. It was an interesting time in my life, I have to say, and even though we jumped ship and were moved about a bit at that time, I think fondly back to my times with the captain on the Ashunet and his inspiration for a little bit more famous captain you may be aware of.
Speak, thou vast and venerable head, which though ungarnished with a beard, yet here and there lookest hoary with mosses. Speak, mighty head, and tell us the secret thing that is in thee, where unrecorded names and navies rust, and untold hopes and anchors rot, where in her murderous hold this frigate earth is ballasted with bones of the millions drowned. Here in that awful waterland there was thy most familiar home. Thou hast been where bell or diver never went, hast slept by many a sailor's side, where sleepless mothers would give their lives to lay them down. Thou saw'st the locked lovers when they're leaping from their flaming ships, heart to heart they sank beneath the exulting wave, true to each other when heaven seemed false to them. Thou saw'st the murdered mate when he tossed from the pirate ship to the midnight deck. O head, thou hast seen enough to split the planets and make an infidel of Abraham, and not one syllable is thine.
So, are you talking about the whale there?
Aye. It was that accursed white whale that raised me, made a poor pegging lubber of me forever and a day. And I'll chase him round Good Hope, and round the Horn, and round the Norway Maelstrom, and give perdition's flames before I give him up. This is what my men and I have shipped for, to chase that white whale on both sides of land and over all sides of earth, till he spouts black blood and rolls fin out.
Speaking of that emotional kind of... It wasn't just emotion that was getting to me, it was my convictions. The owner of the whaling fleet was kind of representing where the world was going. He just seemed more concerned about money and power, and the whales were just the fuel for more, or the whale oil was just more fuel for his money. And I just couldn't fathom that anymore. It didn't sit well with me.
We're all looking to make a buck, and everyone must be vested in success. From cabin boy to captain, each man earns a percentage of what the haul is. Good haul contains up to 70,000 gallons of whale oil, 5,000 gallons of sperm oil, and 30,000 pounds of baleen. Few, mostly boat owners, will get rich. But there's more for these vagabonds out to sea than there is on shore. We account for 640 whaling ships, triple the rest of the world. It's the 5th largest sector in the American economy and contributes millions. Money aside, whale harvests are part of your daily life. The oil is used in your lamps, and ambergris for your perfumes, and baleen for umbrellas and corsets. Whaling has driven innovation in sailing, including sail winches and nautical charts. Dangerous work it is. The jaws or tail of a 50-ton whale can smash a boat and send the crew tumbling into the water. Death sentence in bad weather. The whale will dive, taking the harpoon and the tethered boat with it. The crew has to be fast and allow the line to run out to prevent the boat from being dragged down with the whale. Don't be caught napping. A tangled seaman in the rushing line will be pulled from the boat. Processing the whale is no holiday either. The deck is slick with blood from the oil. A mate slipping overboard will be left to the sharks below. Keep your wits on deck or be crushed by the enormous weight of strips of blubber or wounded by cutting tools. Hot oil can splash out of the try-work pots as the ship rocks in the waves. Beware, occasionally the fire spreads, consuming the ship. This business is not for the dull and idle.
People out there that felt like I did, even though I was on the boat and kind of trapped in the system and part of it. I remember meeting a young lass. Her name escapes me, but she was something called an environmentalist.
Flyrod here. Whaling is not only a lucrative and dangerous industry, it's also inhumane treatment for whales of all species. Without whales, our oceans will become overrun with other predators. In the 1840s, the US currently has about 640 whaling ships. That's 3 times the global whaling population, which, while that makes us a superior economic force for, modernizing by bringing lighting to our homes and streets, it creates another moral dilemma for, future populations who are going to have to live with the repercussions of failing oceans. Our waters will not only become polluted with whale carcasses, but also, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be the one that, because your new hat and your hoop skirt caused the death of 3 million sperm whales in the next 100 years? I think not. If we don't do something, future generations are going to suffer, because not only will our ecosystems, our aquatic ecosystems, fall apart, but mankind will follow suit.
My adventures at sea didn't end on the St. Lawrence, though. I'd found much inspiration there, and, there was a couple of works here. Let me see if I can remember where. Well, there was 2 years before the mast was a book. I believe the author's name was Dana, and Jeremiah Reynolds' The Knickerbocker. It was a magazine about sailing, but that had a very interesting story about the hunt for a great white sperm whale.
Hand me the charts, boy. There you go, Captain. Whale ho! Hoist the sail! sails, you lazy landlubbers! Move faster, you greenhorn!
You know, I eventually, after all those adventures and running around in the mountains and getting on more boats and getting caught a few more times, I finally settled down and went home. Became a teacher. That's where I met Lizzie. Oh, my sweet Lizzie. Elizabeth Knapshaw, she was known to others, but to me, she was my sweet Lizzie. And she really spent most of her time, her life, being my inspiration, but also being the rock upon which I had my foundation that kept me grounded.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Shaw Melville. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts on June 13th, 1822, to Elizabeth Knapp Shaw and Lemuel Shaw. I also had three brothers, John Oakes, Lemuel, and Samuel Savage Shaw. My father was very well known in our city because he was the Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Supreme Court. He was very good friends with Herman's father, making our families very close. Before Herman and I ever really got together, he was quite the adventurer, going out on whaling trips, trying to be part of the Navy, and really just going out and exploring the world. After retiring from his adventures, his sisters started to urge him to write down his stories. In 1846, he wrote and published his book Typee, which was dedicated to my father. The following year was when we fell in love, got married, and honeymooned in Canada. After we got married, we bought a house with Herman's brother and his wife, their two sisters, their brother, and their mother.
Some called me an insane man in my later years. Some of my writing became erratic, and, well, I wasn't very successful after Moby Dick. I tried poetry, and, well, I guess you just don't know what you're gonna do and what you're gonna become. I'm just glad to know that my writing lived on, that people know who Lizzie is. And of course, everybody knows of my best friend, that big white whale, Moby Dick.